pro lacrosse got so violent in like 1920s and all this kind of stuff, people stopped going. So they ruined it just by that, because lacrosse you can hit people at any time, right?
Yeah.
Stick and all that.
Yep.
It got so violent, people stopped going. It was just, so they ruined it for themselves.
Yeah, a lot of challenges, and then again, like I said, everything trickles down to the youth. So, and it's harder to, again, you get wrapped up with the winning piece, and you're not teaching some of the simple basics like that, like checking the right way to do it. That it kind of interferes with everything else, and it's unfortunate that it has to be something you even talk about, because you would think with the reason of human beings, you should be able to fix it by showing a video of the wrong way to do it, or seeing it in a game or in practice and say, don't do that anymore. Yet it continues to feed off itself, and it just keeps happening. I mean, it's I don't know if there's any statistics to say that it's happening any less.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the last thing you want to do is go play and get hurt because somebody was stupid.
No, 100%.
When do players get stupid? Are they stupid the moment they step on the ice, or what happens?
Oh, I don't know. Just I think it's a team culture.
Yeah, I agree
Coaching
with
and the
that.
team culture.
I agree with that 100%, because, I, again, dealing like even at the youth level, seeing just like watching kids in practice, simple things like, I mean, kids will be kids, right? Horsing around and that, but there's a certain point where as a coach, you have to reinforce, you don't do that. We're here to learn, we're here to get better. This is what we do here. And that's culture. Any negative or positive behavior in your life, I don't care if it's in athletics, I don't care if it's at your place of business or if it's in your family, it comes out to culture of what people are taught, and more so what is deemed acceptable, because people will do things that they aren't necessarily taught, but if you accept it, then it's going to continue, it's going to perpetuate.
Yeah.
Well, who's responsible for the culture in your hockey association?
Well, I mean, your coaches have the direct responsibility what they're doing with their kids. The association needs to have, and most of them do have mission statements and codes of conduct. There's code of conduct that coaches sign and the parents sign every year on how you are supposed to act. So it's out there, but again, it's a question of following through on it. Right. I mean, just like when you're recruiting, when you guys in your years when you were recruiting players, and every player that's sat with you was motivated, right? Coach, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Don't you worry. But motivation without discipline is absolutely useless. So while you have these things in place, which is the motivation of how we need to act, unless someone actually is there to recognize that and discipline, just like you as a player, I'm going to be great, coach, but yeah, I'm going to go to bed at 1 a.m. and playing video games. And during the season, I'm probably not going to get into the gym because, I get tired a lot. Instead of going to bed every night at a reasonable hour, getting up. I had a kid that played for me to this day, is still I think is the best overall hockey player that I've ever coached. Now, when he was playing for me, he was a kid who 6 o'clock in the morning, he'd get up, he'd go to the gym. He could do that because he was in bed by 10 to 11 o'clock every single night. And this was this kid's MO. So, and he was a good college player. He wasn't like a lights out player, but he was a good player, scored some real timely goals for us too. But here's a kid who now he graduates and goes to play minor pro and was over a point a game in minor pro when he was playing. Just because he never changed his habit. He was motivated, but he was also disciplined. So that made a huge difference in the fact that you're motivated. He got everything done he needed to get done because he wanted to really be a hockey player. And so just speaking with him actually the other night, he got a call up to the next league that was higher than that. And that's the highest level that any kid has ever been called up to from, the team I coached those years coaching Division III. But it happened because of his work ethic and his ability to understand motivation and discipline. And it's the same thing with coaches and organizations. You're motivated to have every year, you're motivated to have this fantastic year. We're going to have a great season. We're all going to get along. It's going to be fun. We're going to win games. It's going to be great. That's your motivation. But then you start to have things like maybe like you're talking about today, Wally, where those checks that shouldn't be happening, showing a lack of ability to know how to check. Certainly discipline enters into that. What do the coaches do about that? Do they find a way to fix it? Do they adjust the culture? So it really comes down to being disciplined and that being a thread throughout your organization if you want to be successful, if you want to find your ultimate goals, I think.
It all makes sense, but we're not perfect. We're human.
No, that's it. I mean, you always say, right, strive for perfection and you hopefully find some excellence along the way.
Yeah.
Because you won't be perfect. We get that.
Yeah.
It depends on the culture. So, because I remember switching junior teams, and I went to this team that was just goofy. One guy had walked in the room bragging about how he was 18-0 in his fights. I mean, he'd skate down the ice, jump a guy from behind me, punching him. The guy didn't even know he was in a fight, and it was mental. But every 3 games, there was a bench clearing brawl, and it was like, but then our practices were, our coach and owner would go polish off a bottle of whiskey. Well, we play games of shinny up to 5, and then come out and swear at us and bag skate us for 15 minutes. So it wasn't great coaching.
Yeah, we'll call that a negative culture.
How would you describe the culture in your community that you're mentoring, Peter?
I would describe it as a lot of parents who want the best for their kids, who generally like and respect the coaches, who at times need to understand that they're not in the NHL. Allowing the kids to be kids maybe a little bit more, and understanding that, like you just said, we're humans and we're not perfect. And that seems, and I don't think that's just this organization. I think that's a thread through athletics, because you want a certain result so badly, either for yourself or sometimes for your child, right? Hopefully, that you overemphasize the competitive part of it. Like, I want to compete. I want to compete every shift. But when your kid, and I'm talking about like especially at 12 and under, like when they don't like look like they're having a good game, well, let's look at everything. Maybe they shouldn't have played video games till midnight the night before, right? I'm pretty sure that's not on them to just go to bed. Somebody else is supposed to handle that, and maybe when they didn't want to eat their dinner, maybe they shouldn't have had 2 candy bars instead, So I think there's a lot of lessons, and it's pretty interesting. I will say that, having gone through it with my own children, and like I say, at the prep level, at the university level, all levels really, other than anything really major or pro, that it's pretty interesting watching it. It's kind of like the watching the same movie year after year, and it changes a little bit, but not all that much.
You know,